Good evening.
Oh, sorry.
Am I on? Good evening. This is the March 8th convening of the City of Sylvester Municipal Court. I'm going to give you a rundown of the jurisdiction of the court, some things that you can expect while you're here, and I'm sure you've spoken to the solicitor, and he's gone over some of the options that you all will have. The jurisdiction of the City of Sylvester Municipal Court is the city has jurisdiction over misdemeanors, high and aggravated misdemeanors, traffic citations, city ordinances. The maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail. If you hear of a fine that exceeds $1,000, that usually means that that's one of those high and aggravated misdemeanors, or the individual may be a multiple offender. As with any other court in the state of Georgia or in the United States, you have certain constitutional rights, and I'm going to go over those rights with you now, and I'll refer back to them as we discharge your case. You have the right to be presumed innocent. The burden of proof is on the city of Sylvester to prove beyond a reasonable of a doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt, that you are in fact guilty of the crime committed. You also have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you if you meet certain qualifications. You also have the right not to testify against yourself or to testify on your own behalf. If you choose not to testify, that cannot be held against you by this court. Tonight is arraignment, which means that you have the option to enter certain pleas. There are three plea options available to you. The first plea is the plea of guilty. If you plead guilty, we can resolve your case tonight. The second plea is a plea of not guilty, which means that you have the choice of either a bench trial or a jury trial. The City of Sylvester Municipal Court does not hold jury trials, and so if you choose to have a jury trial, your case will be transferred to the Worth County State Court. If you choose to have a bench trial, then you'll be given a summons to appear back in this court, and your case will be heard before a single judge. The third plea option available to you is the plea of nolo contundere or nolo. That is not a guilty plea. That simply means that you do not wish to contest the charge against you. If you use that plea, you can use it once every 5 years for certain statuses of offenses, and we'll talk about those individually as you resolve your case. You may get some legal benefits, such as points not being added to your license or your license not being suspended if you are charged with driving on suspended license. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to the solicitor.
We talked to Burger Station, did you mind?
Yes.
Evening, Your Honor.
Good evening, Mr. Brimberg. Good to see you.
I see you too. Just where you want this, Your Honor?
That's fine right there.
Get close to the microphone, like this microphone. Speak loud so they can hear you. And if we're recommending $1,000 fine with records.
You want to recite?
If I say this stop secondary to traffic, stop speeding on 80 and 65, I believe, 55, 80 and 55. Other alcohol detected. We came out to some field sobriety. Some of the clues were negative. Some were indicative of being intoxicated. Based off that, we moved a negotiated figure based on the facts of the case. I recommend reduction in records.
Yeah.
And Your Honor, my wife will pay the fine this evening.
Raise your right hand for me, Mr. Solomon. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions. You answer for me yes or no after I ask you the question, okay? Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No.
You suffer from any mental disorder that stops you from understanding these proceedings?
No, sir.
You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail? Anybody promised you anything or forced you to enter a plea to the reduced charge? You understand that by entering that plea, you waive all the rights that I just recited? And are you a U.S. citizen? I'm going to find your plea to be voluntarily entered. I'm going to accept the solicitor's recommendation and the plea agreement that he has worked out with your Attorney, is there anything you'd like to say before the court sentences you?
Your Honor, I wouldn't want out of my, like I said earlier, my client has $1,000 cash on him now, so he can pay the fine this evening.
Any objection, Dr. Sylvester?
I just leave it up, we didn't discuss that, I leave it up to the court.
Yeah, we just, that wasn't part of the negotiation.
What about the, going to dismiss the speeding ticket? Non-process.
I believe there was no license on person. I think that's a.
Okay, for the no license on person. So I know your attorney said you had $1,000, you got $1,010. Okay. For the no license on person, I'm gonna sentence you to a fine amount of $10. That's a first offender, fine amount for that charge. For the reckless driving, I'm gonna sentence you to a fine amount of $1,000. And if you have that, tonight, then that will resolve your case. Okay?
Thank you. Does he need to? Your Honor, that concludes my business. What I need is you.
Yes, Mr. Granberry.
There are our recommendations on the remaining issues.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Now, if I may, I've got two individuals with medical conditions. I'll go first to close on.
Sure.
Just want to get them out
You
here.
know them from now.
They should be talking. Miss Singletary. Miss Singletary, tell me your name again. Now, hold on just a second. Tell me your name right here. Shaza. Should be Shaza right here. These two, the first two.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you do? Miss Singletary first.
Miss Singletary, well, we're gonna do Mr. Shazer now,
Yes, ma'am.
and then Mr. Singletary. Okay. Mr. Shazer? Mr. Shazer, you were charged with driving with a suspended tag and also operating without a proper decal. You've had the opportunity to discuss your case with the solicitor, with Mr. Pro. You talked to Mr. Pro, and the city is going to non-process the driving on a suspended tag, and you're gonna plead guilty to improper decal. Is that correct? Wait one moment. I need to swear you in, okay? Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got it? Okay.
I had surgery in July, back surgery, and I hadn't been driving the car was in the garage. And honestly, all my heart, I would not have gotten in that car and drove knowing that everything was suspended. It was just because I had to go to pain management that day, and I hadn't been driving the car at all. I have more sense than getting in the car and tag. Still detail wasn't on it. I do have a copy from my doctor showing that I did have back surgery in July. And I also had to have bone grafted and bolts put in my back and wound back, and I've been through a lot and I got very depressed.
I understand, and you've told all of this to the solicitor, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's the reason why he's, um, I guess, worked out a pretty, liberal offer in terms of resolving this case.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to take his, advice under consideration. I'm gonna, dismiss the driving on suspended tag, and I'm gonna let you, plead to the lesser charge of improper decal to resolve the case, okay?
Yes,
All right, if you just raise your right hand for me, I think you already done that, haven't you?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm running a little bit late today. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings?
No, sir.
You understand that the maximum sentence this court could have imposed was $1,000 or 12 months in jail?
Yes, sir.
Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter into that agreement with Mr. Crow? You understand that by resolving this case tonight, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court,
Yes, sir.
and are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna take, do you work, Mr. Shazer?
I'm totally disabled.
Disabled?
Disabled since '03.
Okay, Mr. Shazer, now the fine amount for that remaining reduced charge is $185.
Yes, sir.
Do you have that tonight?
Yes, sir.
You do have that tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I'm gonna dismiss the driving on suspended tag. I'm gonna enter a plea for the, improper decal, and if you pay that 185, your case is resolved.
Yes, sir. And I did take care of all of everything that,
You did?
yes, sir.
Well, are you recovering from your surgery, okay?
Yes, sir. It's in there.
Okay,
I have a hard time healing.
well, I wish you the best, okay?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bless you.
I think you can,
Run to my car. and
Okay.
get my phone back. Thank you,
yes, ma'am, Mr. Shazer. Janky Williams. Janiki? Okay, I'm sorry. You were charged with speeding. You spoke to the solicitor, and he's agreed to allow you to plead guilty to, 49 and a 55. Is that your understanding? Okay. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, except you God? Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to, enter into that agreement with the solicitor for the speed reduction? You understand that by entering into that agreement, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court? And are you a U.S. citizen? Okay, Ms. Williams, is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
I just had surgery on dialysis, so I thought it was 45 from this way, and then he said change, that's why I need going back this way. So that's how I got all screwed up. These whole signs of the same spot. I ain't had no ticket in ages, and I don't see it.
I understand. Do you work?
No, sir, I don't this age. I'm not able to change this every.
Now, you understand that I know you're concerned, you may be concerned with your driving record, but with the reduction in speed, this won't, affect your driving history, which won't affect your insurance, okay? No. The fine is $175 though. Do you have that? You do have that tonight? Okay, then upon paying that fine, your case is resolved. Okay, and I think you can pay it right over there. Paula Singletary. Ms. Singletary, you're charged with failure to yield when entering across. How do you wish to plead? Have you spoken to the solicitor? You spoken to Mr. Crowe? Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? Do you suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand the maximum sentence? You need to sit down. You want to sit down? Oh, you understand them? Okay. I'll try to speed it up. You understand the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 to 12 months in jail. Anybody promise you anything or force you to plead no law? Well, you have to say it out loud for me. Okay. And do you understand that by pleading no law, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of the court? You're a U.S. citizen. Okay. Does it hurt you to speak? Okay. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence? Was there an accident? The fine amount is $195, Ms. Singletary. Do you have that tonight? You do? Okay. Then this case is resolved upon your payment of that fine, okay? Ms. Clark. Okay.
Ms. Clark,
You still gonna recite it for the rest of the case? You still gonna recite this for the rest of
yes,
Ms. Clark, you here for a probation revocation hearing. I'm gonna allow the probation officer to recite the allegations. I'm gonna give you the opportunity to respond, and then I'm gonna ask for any recommendations, okay? I need to swear you all in.
yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would like, go ahead.
Ms. Clark is here today because she, has not reported to probation since January 23rd, 2018. She has failed to pay probation. She has not completed her 40 hours of community service, which leaves 28 hours, point 50. She, has not did her not defense, but her, DUI suite. So I talked with Ms. Clark today, and, for a recommendation for her, I would like for her to be restored back to probation and give her another chance.
Okay. Ms. Clark, are the allegations that the probation officer just recited, are they true? And is there any reason why you have not complied with the majority of the elements of your probation? You were in the hospital?
About 200. But later I had a talk, I went in the hospital, said she was gonna stop it about some sick, and she was gonna restore when I started getting my weight.
And well, I know you're out of the hospital now, but how's your health? Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, take the probation officer's recommendation. I'm gonna restore you back to probation. And at the minimum, you need to, keep in contact with the probation officer to let her know how you doing, if you're doing better, what's your status, and those kind of things, okay? Because if you don't call her and she don't know and you lose touch, then we're right back in this situation. Okay. James Tucker. Mr. Tucker, you were charged with driving on a suspended license, and you've spoken to the solicitor, and he has recommended that you plead guilty to no license on person. Is that your understanding? You do have your license now? You showed them to the solicitor? Okay, I'm fine with that. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? Yes, you got to answer yes or no for me. Is it no, or are you? No? Okay, you can just say yes or no, okay? Do you suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You have to say it for me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you a little nervous?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just take your time. Yes or no? Do you understand that the maximum sentence this court could have imposed is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail?
Yes, sir.
You understand that by pleading to no license on person, you waive all the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court? Has anybody promised you anything or forced you to plead guilty to no license on person? And are you a U.S. citizen? Okay. Mr. Tucker, I'm going to ask you if you have anything that you wish to say before the court imposes a sentence. Do you know why your license was suspended? Child support. All right, I'm going to send you to a fine amount. All right, I'm going to take the solicitor's recommendation. I'm going to reduce that charge to no license on person. That means that the license that you have in your pocket, they're going to remain valid. I'm going to forfeit the bond that you posted in this case, and you're free to go. Okay.
So my license,
Your license should be valid. I mean, this is not going to affect the status of your license. Okay.
thank you, sir.
Mr. Lopez. State your first name for me.
Osborne?
What's your first name?
Osborne.
Okay. You're charged with speeding, and you've spoken to the solicitor, and he requested, his recommendation was that you plead guilty to 73 and a 35. Is that correct?
Yeah.
want to see what the original was. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, that we got? Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No.
You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding what's going on right now? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 and 12 months in jail? Hmm? No. That's the maximum fine this court can impose, $1,000 and 12 months in jail. That's not what you're gonna get. But I need you to understand that that's the maximum sentence this court can impose. You understand that? A little bit? You wanna help
Lo que
me?
le explica que lo que le puede dar de fianza es $1,000 o un año en cárcel, que entiendes, es lo máximo que le puede dar.
You understand that by pleading guilty to this charge, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court.
Que si usted entiende que él está diciendo que usted tiene la probabilidad de tener el año en cárcel y tener $1,000 de fianza, que si usted entiende todo eso.
Do we have bear with me. I want to go over a couple of the rights with him. Okay. The rights that I was just talking about is that you had the right to be presumed innocent. And tell me if you don't understand anything that I'm saying, okay? You had the right to a trial, a jury trial. You had the right to get a lawyer. You understand that you had that right, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you had the right not to testify against yourself. Is there any of those rights that you don't understand or that you need help with? Okay.
Lo que le explicó son sus derechos que usted tiene en esta corte. Entonces, los derechos que le explicó es que usted tiene el derecho de no incriminarse, o sea, diciendo cosas que le puedan causar más daño. Que usted entiende todo eso.
And so you're good with pleading to 73 and 45. Okay. Now the final is there anything you like to tell the court?
Que si usted entiende que le han reducido la velocidad de 75 en un área de 30 o de 45, le reducieron a 73 en un área de 45. Que si usted entiende eso.
Bueno, la primera vez que pasaba casi camino, no, la primera vez.
I explained to him that it was reduced, and he was just saying that it was the first time he was coming through there, and he didn't know the speed had changed.
How old are you?
23.
23. You go to school?
No.
You graduated?
No. Work.
Work?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, the fine amount is $274. Do you have that tonight? Or did you post the bond? Okay. 274? Do you have that?
Okay.
You have 274?
Yeah.
Okay. Upon paying that fine over there, your case is taken care of. Okay?
Thank you.
¿Sí entendió eso? Y apagando eso ya termina el caso.
Gracias.
Ande.
Corey Reed.
This is we only talk fair deal here in Sessions, that's going on.
That's it.
Usually we are no big that charge, he's 19 years old. I do believe it's involved in motor vehicle collision. I wouldn't oppose a pre-trial on this, Charter, if you want to do it. I just want to make you aware that it does involve a rare case.
Okay. Mr. Reed, you were charged with failure to yield. You want to enter a plea of no contest, correct? Okay, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got? I'm gonna ask you some questions. You answer for me out loud, yes or no, okay? Are you now under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail. Anybody promise you anything or force you to plead no contest to this charge? You understand that by pleading, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court? And are you a U.S. citizen? I'm gonna find your plea to be voluntarily entered, and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything you like to tell the court before I impose sentence? Well, let me ask you some questions. You're 19?
Yes,
You graduated?
sir.
What grade are you in?
I'm a senior.
In Worth County?
Yes, sir.
How are you grades?
Okay.
C, D,
C,
B? Okay. What's your goals after you graduate?
um, uh,
Was this a mild fender bender or somebody went to the emergency room? All right, let me explain to you what a pretrial is, okay? A pretrial is used to allow an offender to perform certain tasks. And if you're successful in performing the task that the court is about to tell you, then this charge will be dismissed. Now, it may not have anything to do with any legal proceedings that arise as a result of this accident, but in terms of your record and your driving history, this will not appear, okay? If you're unsuccessful in completing the pretrial, this charge will come back, okay? All right, it's gonna be a 6-month pretrial. The final amount is gonna be $195. That's how much you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to complete a defensive driving course. And you're not to violate any of the laws of the state of Georgia during that 6-month period. No more, that includes additional speed tickets. Okay. You can submit the completion of the driving course to the probation officer. And after the 6-month time period, this case, if you're successful, this will be dismissed off your record. Okay. There may be other terms and conditions to the pre-trial, and the probation officer will let you know what they are. You're free to go once you see her, okay?
Just have a seat at the round table back there.
Michael Johnson. Mr. Johnson, you had the opportunity to speak to the solicitor,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
You were originally charged with speeding, driving without a tag, and no insurance.
Correct.
And you're gonna plead guilty to 2 fast foot conditions, improper decal, and no proof of insurance, correct?
Correct.
Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask you these questions, answer them for me out loud, yes or no. Are you now under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No.
You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings?
No.
You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail?
Yes.
Anybody promise you anything or force you to accept the solicitor's recommendation?
No, sir.
You understand that by accepting that recommendation and pleading to these charges, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of the court.
Yes, sir.
And are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna find your plea to be voluntarily entered, that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
Just doing life, sir. Had a glitch in the bank account to the insurance, and that was it. By the time Mr. Peterson got me a ticket and everything, within an hour, I had everything back up, got it all taken care of that day, that morning.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm sorry about the whole situation.
You work?
Unfortunately, I was working full-time and part-time, but full-time just went away last week, so I won't go part-time right now, sir. But yes, sir, I was working 6 to 7 days a week, now I'm down to 3 or 4 days.
All right, well, on the no insurance, which is being reduced to no proof of insurance. I'm gonna send you to 12 months probation. With a fine amount of $240. And I reduce that fine since you've shown proof of insurance.
Yes, sir.
Solicitor. On the driving without a tag, which is reduced to improper decal. The fine amount is $127. And on the speeding ticket, which is reduced to too fast for conditions, the fine amount is $126. I'm not extending probation for each one of those fines. It's 12 months probation for the total of those 3 fines. And I'm gonna allow probation to terminate upon payment of the fine.
Okay.
You have a, we are at 240, 127, and 126. 493. Do you have that tonight?
Not all that, no, sir.
Okay, okay.
Everybody had a week of.
Well, probation will terminate
Yes, sir.
upon you
Yes,
paying
sir.
that. Okay.
I'll go with that, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Maybe other terms and conditions to the probation officer will let you know what they are. You're free to go once you see the perk. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Just have to see that.
Tristan Beck. Good afternoon, Mr. Beck. How are you doing today?
Well, for the circumstances.
Well, you've had the opportunity to speak to the solicitor.
Yes, sir.
Your original charges were running a red light and driving while license suspended, and you've spoken to the solicitor. And you've recommended that you plead guilty to 2 fast 4 conditions and no license on person. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Raise your right hand for me, Mr. Beck. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
When I ask you the questions, you've heard them before. Give me a yes or no answer, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to address the court. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No.
You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail. You understand that by entering a plea to these reduced charges, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court.
Yes, sir.
Has anybody promised you anything or forced you to enter a plea to these charges? You understand? And are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I do have my license, and with that, the reason why it was suspended, I have done the traffic school, but unfortunately I was going through a divorce right after that, that I did not see coming. And with that, I just forgot about the other issues, because my mental health just was not fully there.
Okay. Mr. Crowe?
Yeah, that's the basis of the recommendation.
Okay.
Much of the loss of person.
All right, Mr. Bed, I'm gonna take the solicitor's recommendation. I'm gonna accept the guilty plea to 2 fast food conditions instead of the running red light. The fine amount for that is going to be $195. And on the driving while license suspended, I'm going to accept the guilty plea on the reduced charge of no license on person. Fine amount for that is going to be $800. You get the luxury of getting the reduced charge so that it doesn't resuspend your license. But however, the fine stays. I know people don't usually carry that amount of money.
No, sir.
So what I'm gonna do is, are you from here?
I'm from Florida.
From Florida?
Yes, sir. Is there any way that I have like, extended period of time to pay that?
Yeah, I'm about to give you that. I'm gonna, what I wanna do is a pay only probation, and then terminate the probation as soon as you pay the full amount.
Yes, sir.
That way, I mean, it's not a reporting type probation where you have to actually physically come to Georgia. It's more of, once you get the money and you get it to the probation officer, she'll terminate the probation and your case will be resolved.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sounds wonderful. How much time would I have to pay that?
12 months.
12 months? Okay.
But I always advise individuals, because you are on probation, so you don't want to violate any laws of the state of Georgia or anything like that. So the quicker you pay it, the quicker you're off probation, and so you don't have all those loose ends that, the what if that could happen while you're on probation, okay?
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you, Your Honor.
There'll be other terms and conditions. Probation officer will let you know what they are. You're free to go once you see her, and I hope that life is getting a little bit better for you.
Slow and steady.
I know about divorce.
Around there.
Thank you so much. Your Honor.
I said, whatever.
Lorenzo Williams. Mr. Williams, you're charged with DUI, open container, and a noise violation. You spoken to the solicitor, and you're gonna plead guilty to open container, noise violation, and reckless driving. Is that correct? That's your understanding?
Yes.
All right, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask you some questions. Answer for me yes or no, okay? You can put your hand down. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings?
No, sir.
You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 to 12 months in jail?
Yes, sir.
Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter a plea to these reduced charges?
No, sir.
You understand that by pleading to reckless driving, noise violation, and open container, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court?
Yes, sir.
Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter that plea?
No, sir.
And are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything you like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
No, sir.
What was this, a traffic stop or a roadblock or
Yes, sir.
traffic stop? Are you currently on probation for anything else?
No, sir.
All right, on the reckless driving, I'm gonna sentence you to 12 months probation and a fine amount of $750. On the open container charge, I sentence you to 12 months probation consecutive with a fine amount of $254. And on the noise violation charge, a fine amount of $160. Do you work?
Yes, sir. I can have them paid in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
I'll pay open container, last week, right?
Well, you can work it out with, the probation officer. Is this your first DUI?
Yes.
Then I'm gonna allow, probation to terminate upon payment of the fine, which means that once you pay the fine, you got 24 months, but once you pay the fine, you'll be off probation, okay? And there'll be other terms and conditions to the probation officer will let you know what they are. You're free to go once you see her, okay? Tiffany Sanders. Ms. Sanders, you were charged with no insurance and driving on a suspended tag. You've had the opportunity to speak to the solicitor. You're gonna plead guilty to, no proof of insurance and improper decal. Is that your understanding? Okay, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, I'm gonna ask you these questions, answer them yes or no. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 and 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter a plea to these reduced charges? You understand that by pleading to these charges, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court? And are you a U.S. citizen? I'm gonna find your plea to be voluntarily entered, Ms. Sanders, and that you're aware of the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
I didn't know my insurance was bad. And while I was moving on, I was getting a straight line and so they
Repeat that last sentence for me.
he told me that he would write it on a ticket that I was getting the insurance straightened out while he pulled it up.
Okay. Well, I mean, the solicitor You told that to the solicitor, correct?
No, oh, yes, I did.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason why he, reduced it to no insurance, to no proof of insurance.
That's correct, John, that's the basis for the reduction now. The fact that she did, was obtaining, trying to take insurance from the side of the road.
Yeah, but officer, that, just look at that, he was.
That, you all are saying the same thing.
But it was reduced down to no proof of insurance, just like you had, it's just you had to show them at the time, since you were trying to do it. The difference is that other one suspends your license.
All right, on the no proof of insurance. Do you work, Tiffany? On the no proof of insurance, I'm gonna send you to, 12 months probation with a fine amount of $240. And on the driving, the improper tag, improper decal, the reduced charge on that, I'm gonna send you to a fine of $300. So that's $540. Do you have that tonight? You do? Okay. Um, the, the fact that the solicitor reduced the charges means that none of these charges will affect your driver's license or anything like that. And since you're paying the fine tonight, then your case is resolved, okay? So you're not on probation. Once you pay the fine, your case is resolved. Okay. Milton. Pronounce your name for me. Okay, you're charged with speeding, no insurance, and driving without a tag. You spoke to the solicitor, and you're gonna plead guilty to speeding, no insurance, no proof of insurance, and improper decal. That you understand? Okay, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got? I'm gonna ask you some questions. You answer them for me, yes or no. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter a plea in these charges? You understand that by pleading, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court? And are you a U.S. citizen? Okay. I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered, that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence? You work? How old are you? 22? On the drive without a tag, which is reduced to improper decal, I'm gonna send you to a fine amount of $127. On the no proof of insurance, I'm gonna send you to 12 months probation with a fine amount of $240. And on the speeding ticket, a fine amount of $175. You got 340. What did you come up with? 540, 542. Okay, the total fine is $542. Do you have that tonight?
And I did, but I got money orders, and I don't know if y'all can get it for it.
Oh, you had money orders for the whole thing? What are your money orders?
I got one for 175, one for 254, one for 480. I mean, I could pay with my card, I just cash in.
You hit that, take that. 109. Oh. Now, her total fine is what, 542, and I was trying to see if two of them, if a combination of two of them would get you somewhere. That's fine, but did you take the card? Okay, so you can do that. All right, then your case is resolved, and you're not on probation, okay? Blackledge. Mr. Blackledge, you're charged with speeding, but you talked to the solicitor and you're gonna plead guilty to 49 and a 35, correct? Raise your right hand for me. You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got it. I'm gonna ask you some questions. You answer for me out loud, yes or no, okay? Are you now under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 and 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter a plea to the reduced speed? You understand that by pleading, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court? You remember those rights? You know that by entering a plea, you waive all those rights. And are you a U.S. citizen? Okay. I'm gonna find your plea to be voluntarily entered and that you understand the nature and the consequences of this plea. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
I'm just trying to see who, look, I'm see you, I'm just trying not to get it. I don't know, she said something about somebody, tell the court.
Say that last thing again.
I said, tell the court, the NPR, I don't know how much, but I know my job was, we were like a NPR check every year on the anniversary of my work day.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to see if that's the way to work that out. The way to go. So,
Were you in your truck? Okay. Then you with this reduction, it will not report because of the reduction that the solicitor gave you. So it changed it to a non-reportable offense. The final amount is 175. Do you have that tonight?
I'll have it
Friday. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you a summons for court to come back on March 28th. If you pay it by March 28th, you don't have to come back to court. But if you don't, you have to come back to court, and at that time, you possibly be placed on probation.
Sí, they'll give you a severe.
Tiana Goodwine. Ms. Goodwine, you charged with speeding, and you spoken to the solicitor, and you're gonna plead guilty to 59 and a 45. That you understand? Raise your right hand for me. You swear or affirm that the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got it. Okay. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 to 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter a plea to this reduced speed? You understand that by pleading to that, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of the court. And are you a U.S. citizen? I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence? You work? You just got a job yesterday? Well, the fine amount is $175. Do you have that tonight? Where did you get a job? Where? Waffle House? Can you have the fine paid by April the 12th? The reason I'm not doing March 28th is I'm gonna give you enough time to at least get paid once, right? So if you can pay that by April the 12th, you don't have to come back to court on April 12th. But if you don't, you need to come back to court. Where are you from? Tifton. You can pay it online. They will give you the web address that you can go to sylvesterpay.com and pay your ticket online. Well, you can do a money order and mail it as long as you get it to the court before April the 12th. I don't have a problem with it. Okay, so get whatever the address, any documentation you need, get it before you leave tonight. But Tifton not that far away, is it?
20 miles.
About 20 miles. You can bring it back, just don't speed, right? Pay it by April the 12th, and you don't have to come back to court, okay? All right. Kenneth Thomas. Mr. Thomas, you're charged with failure to secure load and driving while license suspended. But you've spoken to the solicitor and you're gonna plead guilty to no license on person and failure to secure load. Is that correct? Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I'm gonna ask you some questions, and you tell me yes or no in response to for your answer. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings?
No, sir.
You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 to 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to plead guilty to these charges, to these reduced charges? You understand that by pleading guilty, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court, and are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered, and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Now, is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
I did get my license.
Okay, you just got them?
A couple of the 26. They just said.
You don't have the hard copy yet? All right, for the driving on suspended license, which is reduced to no license on person. I'm gonna send you to, do you work?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you, where you, you from Sylvester? Albany? Do you know why your license was suspended?
I haven't taken it on to
Okay. I'm gonna send you to a fine amount of, I'm gonna send you to 12 months probation with a fine amount of $800. And for the failure to secure load, a fine amount of $195. So that's a total fine of $995. with the reduction of the suspended license to no license on person, that means that the license, when you do get your hard copy and you get everything, this won't resuspend your license. Okay. I know a lot of people don't carry this kind of money around on them, but I have to ask, you have $995 tonight. I do not think so. No. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place you on 12 months probation, and I'll allow probation to terminate upon payment of that fine. If it was $125, I'd probably would say bring it tomorrow, but with that amount, I need the court to maintain jurisdiction until the money's finally paid. There'll be other terms and conditions to the probation. Probation will let you know what they are, and you're free to go once you see them. Ricardo Johnson. Mr. Johnson, you're charged with driving while license suspended, failure to maintain lane and open container, but you've spoken to the solicitor and you're gonna plead guilty to no license on person, failure to maintain lane and open container. Is that correct? Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth that you got? Okay. I'm gonna ask you these questions and you've heard them. Answer them yes or no out loud, okay? Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is about $1,000 or 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter into that plea agreement with the solicitor? You understand that by pleading to these charges, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of the court? And are you a U.S. citizen? Okay. I'm gonna find your plea to be voluntarily entered and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
My main way of doing work is that I live in Houston. I work in Alabama, so that might be that.
Well, let me ask you this. Is your license current now? And you showed that to the solicitor? Okay, so that means that this, since he agreed to reduce the charge, this is not going to suspend your license. So if you got a license in your hand or in your pocket, it's valid. So you still got a way to get to work, okay? But I guess this shows how close you could come to losing your license, right? All right, so on the charge of open container, I want to send you to a fine amount of $254 on the driving on the reduced charge of no license on person. I'm gonna send you to 12 months probation with a fine amount of $800. And on the failure to maintain lane, a fine amount of $195. I will allow probation to terminate upon payment of that fine, which means that you got 12 months to pay it. So hopefully that won't make it a financial hardship, but if you can pay it before then you'll be off probation before then, okay? There'll be other terms and conditions to the probation. Probation officer will let you know what they are. You're free to go once you see them. Kayla Jackson. Kayla, you had opportunity to speak to the solicitor. Your original charges were driving with suspended tag, no license on person, expired driver's license, and no insurance. But you've spoken to the solicitor, and his recommendation is that you will plead to improper decal, no license on person, and no proof of insurance, correct? Your license is still expired? Raise your right hand for me. You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, answer these questions for me. Are you now under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 to 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to plead to these charges? You understand that by pleading to these charges, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court? And are you a U.S. citizen? Okay. I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Now tell me, do you work?
Yes, sir.
What's the status of your license?
I just, I'm currently with SMS and I haven't had time to go there yet.
Okay. Just for my edification, Caleb, what you're a caregiver with SNS Healthcare, and tell me how that makes you not have time to get your license.
Well, I did it online and they asked me to come in for some information and I was showing them birth certificate and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So you had a lot of things that you need to do to get it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna give you 60 days to get your license reinstated. On the no license on person. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna reduce the expired driver's license to no license on person with a fine amount of $185. I'm gonna null process the no license on person. I'm gonna reduce the driving on suspended tag to improper decal. Sentence you to 12 months probation with a fine amount of $600. And the no insurance, I'm gonna reduce to no proof of insurance. With a fine amount of $240. And you say you are employed. You think what's the total?
$1,025.
1,025.
That's five, you said, no, three, one.
No license on person. That was 185. And I want to add $12 months probation to the improper decal. If consecutive. That should give her 24 months. What I'm doing is I'm giving you 24 months to pay this fine. Now there are going to be some other terms and conditions to the probation, but I will allow probation to terminate once you pay it. So you got 24 months, but if you pay it in 2 months, you're off probation. There'll be other terms and conditions to the probation, and they'll let you know what they are, and you're free to go once you see them, okay? Clarence Rogers. Mr. Rogers, you were charged with speeding, and you spoke to the solicitor, and he's agreed to allow you to enter a plea to too fast for conditions. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter a plea to this reduced charge? You understand that by pleading to this charge, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of the court. You know, you're a U.S. citizen. I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered, that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything that you want to tell the court before I post them? You work? You work too much? All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you to a fine amount of $274, and I'm gonna require you to complete a defensive driving course. From my understanding, you can do that online now. Submit the certificate to, well, let me ask you a question. Do you have $274 tonight? You do? Okay, then I'm not gonna, I need you to submit that to the clerk. To, yeah, the certificate to the clerk of court, okay?
The
So you can-
defensive driving, once you complete it, you can mail it to our office. The defensive driving, you can mail it to our office once you complete it.
What I'm saying is, I'm not placing you on probation because you've got the $274 tonight. But you haven't satisfied the court until you submit the certificate saying that you've taken that defensive driving course. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna give you a summons to come back to court on April the 12th. And if you complete that defensive driving course and you get that certificate to the court, you don't have to come back to court. It's gonna be done. Okay, that's, I just wanna make sure, with the mask on, I can't read your facial expression, so I didn't know if you were understanding me or we're on the same page, okay? So you paid the $274 tonight, mail the certificate back in, and you're done. Now, I know cash is always the right answer. But hey, I'll give you a little bit of advice. Now, don't work too hard now, and take some time to enjoy life and not speed. Oh, go ahead and go to work. It's $274 over there, and mail the certificate back in by the 12th. Okay.
Oh, you have more.
Ms. Pose. Mr. Pose. Pronounce your name for me. I'm the last name.
Pose.
Pose. Baraka Pose. Okay. You're charged with driving while license suspended, and you're gonna enter a no-law plea. Okay. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I'm gonna ask you some questions. You answer for me out loud, yes or no. Are you now under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 and 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter a plea of no contest? You understand that by entering this plea, you waive all the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of course. And are you a U.S. citizen? And anybody promise you or force you or anything to enter a plea? Okay, just want to make sure I cover all my bases. Is there anything you like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
Read my license suspended because I ain't paying court calls. I had moved to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh with the tech, suspended license and I was gone. I got my license back. Only thing I had to do was pay court calls. But I had some stuff to handle in Pittsburgh, went to Pittsburgh and I moved to Texas. And I got locked up, incarcerated in Texas. And when I talked to the lady telling them about my situation, she said that it was called in email, but my address had changed because I had moved to Pittsburgh and moved to Texas. And I got to something in Texas and I went to jail. So I spoke to the lady and she said that the only thing I got to do is come to Alabama, turn myself in, something like a run, turn myself in and get out, do some more stuff, or write it up to the judge and let him know I was incarcerated.
You said something about Pelham?
Yes, it's Alabama.
Oh, there's a Pelham, Alabama? Okay. I'm the judge in Pelham, Georgia. I just want I hadn't seen you before I would remember your name, I guess. But
Not a problem.
so in other words, you got a little work to do to get your license reinstated.
Yes, just pay the court calls.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna hold you. I mean, do you have to go down there and turn yourself in, or you have to write a letter to the judge, or is it
It's
either
one of
or?
those two. Go to Alabama, turn myself in, bond out, and take care of it right there. Unless write the judge a letter, let them know I was incarcerated and I couldn't pay it at the time.
Okay. You haven't made up your mind which one you're gonna do?
Write the letter.
All right. Well, on this one, because you're pleading NOLO in the state of Georgia, and you can use that NOLO plea once every 5 years, this is not going to resuspend your license once you get them. So that means that when you take care of all of that stuff and you get your license back, they're good. This is not going to resuspend them. Now I got to tell you, you only can use a NOLO plea in Georgia once every 5 years. So if you get another suspended license charge, you can't use a NOLO plea. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you to 12 months probation. I'm gonna give you a fine amount of $800. And I'm gonna allow probation to terminate upon payment of that fine. You got $800 on you tonight? Okay. There'll be other terms and conditions to the probation. They'll let you know what they are. As long as you satisfy the probation, you'll be good in Sylvester, and all you have to do is take care of Alabama. Okay. If you got court costs in Alabama, if you choose to write that letter, I'll put the court costs in there with it.
Y'all have any objections about it?
Yeah, thank you so much. And for the record, are we still being recorded? No,
Sure, if you want to be.
no, take that
Okay.
out.
Give me just a sec.